will go live. Perfect.
Let's do it.
Good evening. Hello. Hi. Welcome. And hope you're having a good Sunday out there, no matter what time of day you find yourself experiencing. And we are going to work with our old buddies, the Arcturians. It's also 7/11, so quite an auspicious date. At least it's a number that keeps popping up as a synchronicity in my own experience, and there's also been some channelings on it. But I look forward to being with you today and being with the Arcturians, of course. And I also want to thank Natalie and Tony Veritas and Carla and Suzanne for your recent generosity. Thank you so much, guys. So without further ado, I will bring through Umlam and the rest of the council, and you have a good one out there. Yes, greetings, dear friends, people of Earth, good human beings. I, Umlam of the Arcturian Council, I express my joy and gratitude for being here with you today. I extend the love of me and the Arcturian Council and all of your galactic brethren, and I bring you peace and blessings. We have entitled this transmission, Remnants from the Rubble. See, what you are experiencing at this moment is these pent-up energies. We have spoken on it before in different transmissions brought through this individual. This idea of popping the pimple and this idea of resting and restituting as your wounds they heal. See, what you have been experiencing is in many ways that pent-up energies from the past. In many cases, not from your personal past, but from your human past or your ancestral past. They have been coming up, and as they come up as tensions to intensify, cramp up, and then be released into a type of relaxation, a type of allowance of what is. And this may have seemed a little disturbing to you. So you may feel at this moment a little unsettled. And what you can do about it is that you can take note of your individual unique vibration. The individual unique vibration of you is the thing that never changes from any situation you have been in. So there's an almost negative determination at play, understood in that way that you can remove all experience and then you come into your basic configuration. If you look around in your experience, there may be things related to family or related to your past popping up to present itself as something that you can learn from. That is patterns that have so far been pinned up in your body as well. They may come forward to be released, and they do so by also causing you some trouble. So here you are faced with the rubble of past events, with that phenomenon you call karma. And this phenomenon, well, it is breaking down. And this is allowing you to move into a different version of yourself. But you are still standing in the rubble, the debris of this breakdown. And here you can sort of sift through the things you want to keep, because there are things in your past, in these past experiences, the unchanging current of you that you can discern from this. There are perhaps also artifacts, skills, stories, and connections that you want to bring through from the past into this moment. But you are being born anew, and you are being born anew with quite an intensity. And notice that the physical birth of the human being is also connected to a type of constriction and then being broken into, let's say, an open space or space that yields to your presence. And so can you allow yourself to move into this vibration? Can you shed the things and leave them in the rubble behind? And can you carry the things that are really essential to you forward into this new experience? This is the message that we bring you this day. We are happy to be here, and I and all of the council, we look forward to answering your questions this day. Blessings to you, dear human beings.
Yes, hello and greetings to you, Umblam, and the council.
Greetings and love to you, dear Sailesh.
Okay, we've got a few questions sent in. I'll ask them first. Sophia asks, could I have a message from Lars on the broken stone dragon sculpture?
Yes. For listener quality, we involve you in the fact that Lars is a dragon guide of the person asking. And so he is saying that, well, his energy cannot be contained in any object. And since he is breaking free, he has been growing and expanding. And so has your dragon energy. So while you were able to contain it in a statue at some point, now it has broken free and it's manifesting in your life and your outside experience. So the days of keeping your dragon friends as pets and whelps, they are over, and now they have grown old and wise, and they are ready to assist you in your experience and to fill out into other spaces where you may want their assistance. So he sends you his blessings, and he thanks you for your intent to work with him.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Carla. Oh, it's a pretty long one. It says, hi, Meds. I have a 4-hour Beyond Quantum healing session in about a week. I bought it for a dear friend who is ill, but could not make the session. The practitioner, Alison Co, is one of the best, so I am going to participate in the session. Okay, with advertising for her. Okay, BQH is past life regression, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what she's saying is, since you're able to read my energy better than I can, do any specific lives stand out as something I should ask to recall or explore? Anything specific I should ask to heal health-wise? I'm going to ask about my liver due to my familial high cholesterol and hormones. Any lives that might help with service, bear with me a second, to others to recall. Any attachments that I might need. I think this effectively, I think she's asking any past lives which she should explore and investigate further.
Yes. And this is the gist of it, that there are certain past lives connecting to this manifestation. So you are being led to this type of healing because it will also have a remarkable effect on you and for you. So look forward to this and approach it with open eyes, because the strange thing here is, for instance, that there is a lifetime of a fishmonger coming forward. We find ourselves approximately in the 700s, and well, we believe the river might be called the Loire in French, but it's you simply spend your life as a fisherman here, and here you may have experienced some malnutrition. So it is this type of generational pattern. We actually sense that this is an ancestral life more than that is, it's an ancestor of yours rather than it is a direct past life. And so you may experience that, well, what you want to do is actually to go into a type of high fructose diet for a moment. So you may experience actually that you would want to deprive yourself of protein, not totally, but keep it at a low level for approximately 2 weeks and then see what happens here. Because there is another lifetime. Here you are a hunter and we are far back. We find ourselves approximately 70,000 years ago. So this is a very primordial lifetime, but well, here you are building snares and you get a little sick of eating smaller animals, hares and rabbits, rodents and such. So this is also, there's this type of protein sickness connected to this hormonal imbalance of which you speak. And these are lifetimes that we sense coming forward. Then we also sense there are some lifetimes of starvation and also a voluntary deprivation. So there is an ascetic lifetime here where you sustain yourself only on day-old bread and water from the local creeks. It's a type of stylite existence. So it's this lifetime where you sort of deprive yourself of everything to prove your piety. And so here there is a window opening for you to find a sweetness in experiencing something, and at the same time, well, working to clear out these patterns so you can go into a type of colorful enjoyment of life. This is what we transmit to you. We bless you in your progress and in working with this technique, and we love you and all of you. Therefore, thank you for being.
Thank you, Umlam. Okay, next one is from Tony Veritas. It says, greetings, my Arcturian family. Blessings to you all in the name of the one almighty infinite creator. In the Revelation section of the Holy Bible, it says that the dragon will whip its tail twice, I believe. Is this event definitely going to take place, or can the collective consciousness change over to a different timeline?
Well, we also instructed our friend here to look up this passage of which this individual speaks. It is the passage we believe in chapter 12 and, well, verse 4 and 5 of the book of Revelations. And so it's a very cryptic passage. What it essentially signifies is in this rebirth or restructuring of humanity that will take place in, well, the spiritual development of your species, there will be a simplification of the zodiac. So where you are now dealing with 12 base configurations, you will move into something that has 8 base configurations. That is, it's more akin to, for instance, the elements as they are presented in a work such as the I Ching. You will begin to align with other energies that are perhaps of a less astral quality and more of an etheric quality. That is, they are components that build your energetic field and makes it whole. So there is nothing to fear here. And what you may discern is the idea that, well, if you are experiencing this fear or this worry around it, then this is serving a negative purpose in your experience. And so what you may experience as a type of positive apprehension is actually something that's tormenting you. And we wish we could assist you in that. And the instruction is essentially that to have faith in the path that you mapped out for yourself before you went here. Because if you were to be caught up in some huge cataclysm and, well, die, pass on to infinity or soul consciousness, through that process, well, that would be in perfect order. So, well, what you could do if you want to play around with it positively is you could ask yourself, well, how would I rather die if I want to die in a cataclysm or something huge and negative could happen? Well, is there a better way for me to meet my demise? Because at some point you will shed this Muppet case, this flesh that you carry around in order to have an experience. And so you get to choose what to do with this life, but you do not get to choose where to die. And it is not a helpful thing to work too hard to avoid it, we could say.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, our good friend Kevin asks, I feel that my body is transforming differently and more efficiently lately. I have found a good balance of running, hiking, tennis, steam rooms, and stretching. I feel that it needs more attention, and that when I give it attention and self care, it really responds in a very positive way. I also speak to my cellular structure. Could you go more into this and speak of the next level of body awareness and efficiency?
Yes, this is a very helpful question, because notice when we have transmitted so much information regarding ascension to your species, we have at the same time perhaps not emphasized too clearly that your body is also a part of this process. Well, therefore, we would like to remind you that your body is a part of, we could say, the holy Trinitarian structure of the individual human being that is mirrored in the physical, the etheric or the mental, and in the eternal or the spiritual or the realm of the soul. And so your bodies are also transforming in order to vibrate at a different level. And here we can also say that a lot of these energy patterns that were ingrained in you and the creation that we assisted in the mapping out of the human potential that you could move into as you awaken as a species, different codes are being activated. And this also relates to the question before our friend Tony asked, where he was wondering about this dragon whipping its tail, because it rather refers to, well, the deep reason that these things are revealed through symbolic and imagery is that they're very rich, that they can be applied to many situations, and that they can open up a deep layer of human understanding that is perhaps beyond words, but full of rich imagery. And this also speaks to the fact of the awakening dragon. So the human being who is a type of ruler of its own condition, and this ruler of its own condition, this speaks to the awakening of the body. So you may feel that there is a higher capacity to hold currents of information, incoming energy. What you may have experienced as symptoms of great fatigue or challenge or pain in many cases, you may also now be experiencing as a type of animating push. And this is this type of healing energy that's being brought forward. And if you take note of it also, our friend, you may feel that when you do your physical work, it is more, let's say, driven by an energy of excitement rather than an energy of force, of you feeling that you need to apply yourself. And it's this playfulness that's in many ways also growing in your bodies. So also notice how your bodies are becoming less culturally deconditioned, as so many of you are also forced into, well, unhealthy work positions or sitting by computers a lot, or these things. You also become more aware of your body's ability to heal and restructure itself through different exercises and stretching, for instance. So there is this, we could say, internal arms race between conditioning factors, the pressure of the external environment growing and the growing consciousness of you coming into more of an applied sense of, let's say, playful embodiment.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. So Steve, if you'd like to go next, unmute yourself, mate.
Namaste, Omblam.
Namaste, dear Steve. Thank you for being with us this day.
Thank you as well. I'd like to ask for any reading or messages for me, for my highest and greatest good, that might also serve the group.
Yes, we sense a type of display surrounding you. So these are almost like mosaic tiles, but of a different quality. It's this panel of, well, colored, animated interface that surrounds you. So what you may have felt as the type of, well, we will use the imagery of a wall or something constricting you, has become in many ways also a type of subtle interface. That is, you have noticed there are a lot of nuances in your immediate experience that you have gotten more skilled at operating. So there has been a move for you into a higher degree of both mental awareness, control, and we could even say stability, in the idea that when you apply yourself, you also feel that it is easier for you to, well, control or set up helpful boundaries. That is, instead of building a wall, then building a type of stockade between, well, the wall city of you, the things that are helpful to contain within, and the things that are unwanted to you. So notice that this discipline and awareness is something that has been growing. And here you may want to begin to work more on connecting to the earth core, the vibration of the earth. And we sense there are different beings residing or connected to the earth's core, but you may want to connect to the inner earth civilization. These sometimes quite mole-like people, they also have messages for you, and this may, we could say, complement your galactic explorations. So there is love trying to emerge from the earth's core and reach you.
Thank you. Can you elaborate a little more on how to connect through visualization or feeling the energy, going somewhere in imagination, or what would be the best way?
Yes. See how skilled you are in this, that you already know these different ways of progressing. So what we are giving you here is essentially a permission slip to go into this exploration, because what you can do is you can move into it through vibration. And here it would be helpful for you to connect to your middle toe, and there envision from, well, the outer root of that is the place below the nail, that a vibration emerges from that. It's a type of echolation that begins to hum along with the same vibration as the Earth's core. And the Earth's core resides approximately at 8 hertz, but you can move into it with this. So just trying to move as deep as possible and isolating this in this point in your feet. And then feel this vibration, this echolation extending into your body and also extending down. And then we could say aligning the currents of your energy field and the currents of the earth. This will be a helpful way of approaching it. There is also a guide that calls himself Icarus. He's using this in a type of, it's well, it's again this playful irony, because of course he doesn't fly, he resides below the earth, but he wants you to connect to him through the name Icarus. And here you may, well, sense that if you put forward any type of technical queries or something, and then clear your mind for a while, you may sense he comes forward and offers you some inspiration in this. So any practical stuff that you want solutions to, he would also like to offer you, as well as working with your root chakra. So you may also want to spend some time in, well, with your knees apart in some way. It can be, for instance, in the reclined butterfly, or in the child's pose, or, well, with your knees folded in between you, but kind of extended out to the side. Just this kind of opening would be helpful. So these are different techniques that you can work with, our friend.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have been struggling with root chakra energies feeling like they're siphoned away from me. So I'll put these into practice, and thank you so much.
You are so very welcome, and have fun with it. We sense this is something that will help you build that tether to the nurturing core of the earth. Blessings.
Blessings.
Yes, okay. Laura, you're up next.
Hi, greetings and love to you.
Our love to you, dear Laura, on this day and all days.
Oh, thank you. Excuse me. So, as always, your message today was very timely for me. I recently did a transmission with the Syrian Blue White Collective called Unwinding the Veil of the Motherline. And it's specifically working with, if we think of the 12 layers of our DNA as the first layer being our physical layer, and then the rest are sort of the quantum field of our DNA that hold our Akashic, our karma. And so this transmission was to unwind specifically the mother line for this particular lifetime. And so, and I know many of the women, or at least the immediate women in my immediate line, have had quite a lot of trauma. And I'm just curious if there's anyone either recent or further back in my maternal ancestral line that has any comment on what we did.
Well, we see a woman crying by a creek here, and, well, she has given birth to a, well, she has given birth to a stillborn, so it's not even a miscarriage, and we find ourselves here in, well, we are approximately in the 1500s, and, well, this creek, or we are somewhere near the border between Russia and Ukraine in present day geography. And here there is this type of deep sorrow, this grief that has mounted, and she is being released. So, well, what you know of as ghosts, for instance, this phenomenon, it's often, as you also intuit, of course, connected to the ancestors. But, well, the very, let's say, the bright or pure light parts of the ancestors, they are released in death into the beyond, or heaven, the great opening. But part of them can remain, and these are in many ways, well, partially these painful patterns, and these patterns can be so powerful or ingrained that they manifest in other individuals' experience, especially if it's connected to something ancestral. And this lifetime is now being released. So there is this type of, well, very literally, pain of motherhood, we could say, of broken connection forced upon you by the world that has revealed itself and in many ways also released itself.
Hmm. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, the mother-daughter connection back and forth. And in the release of the karma through the maternal line, are you able to, is that something that's visual as an energetic field that you can see, or is it different?
It's visible. So the way that it presents itself is, well, if you were to think of this mother-daughter line of which you speak, then if you were to think of this as a silver chain, and you were to imagine this silver chain having become weathered or oxidized, so this is almost like polishing it. So it means that, well, the pure life force or also transmission of positive energy, that's the essential component of this current of ancestral manifestation, we could say, your part in the generational chain. This has become polished, this has become in many ways ennobled, we could say.
And are they feeling because I know that we handle our karmas different when we're on the other side of the veil. It's like it's not the same, but we can in lifetimes up to now, we have carried them back into our incarnations or certain portions of them. And so are my ancestors and my maternal line feeling the relief of the release of that karma?
You raise a very beautiful point, and this might be interesting information to all of you. The idea here is that, yes, since these ancestral patterns, well, they exist today in different lifetimes, these energy bodies. So on one dimension, when you clear out some of this ancestral karma, it also affects the energy body of this individual incarnate now in a positive way. So it might be very slight or subtle in that individual's experience, but you also all know days where you wake up feeling positive, or as if you could take on the world, or just at rest and peace with where you find yourself at that moment. And these can actually often be, well, energetic releases that have also been worked through some of this deep karmic complexity that exists in the Akashic, all these types of, well, filaments and ley lines that connect the spirit to the physical.
Much love and gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you to you also, dear one, our friend. Love to you and our blessings.
Okay, Ashen, go ahead, mate.
Hey, Umlam. So I moved to a new house like a couple of months ago, and I became close friends with my roommate there. We hung out almost every day, and then I got attached to that relationship. And I would have these impulses to react at certain times based on that attachment and the expectations that I created to be treated a certain way. But I tried my best to resist it. But then eventually, after a certain incident, I did react, and that resulted in me being kicked out of the house as well, because they were my landlord too. yeah, so the part of myself, the aspect that came up was not accepted in that circumstance. But now that I've processed a lot of it, which was really, really hard, I feel that it has served me because this attachment I've found is due to a childhood abandonment wound. And so this has allowed me to purge a lot of that. I guess my question is, how much of that wound have I purged now, since like a similar um, circumstance has happened in the past? And do you see this repeating in my future relationships? Thank you.
Well, blessings and love to you on your path, our friend. We transmit this to you also in these troubling times. Well, we can, reading your energy, also remind you that some of your configurations are also due to the fact that you are in a, we could say, volatile period of your physical trajectory. That is another way of saying that you are young. And this means that a lot of the experience that you attract, they can be really harsh because they don't well match up to the former shocks. So we give you the reassurance that, well, having this experience, well, the cynical way of describing it would be that you grow a type of scar tissue. But of course, the very positive way of describing it is that you grow in wisdom and discernment, because this is essentially what's happened. And so you may experience this abandonment wound, then revealing other sides of itself in your life as you move forward. But it will do so in complexity. That is, that you will be not necessarily more apprehensive, but perhaps a bit more choosy in where you direct your social attention. And so these abandonment issues, well, they are quite normal for people. That is, all of you are to some extent suffering from this deep wound of separation that happens biologically. And it happens several times in your life. And if we were to experience, or if we were to compare this to other information or realities you have, we spoke earlier of the dragon whipping its tail, this idea of the cataclysm, that you have actually experienced this cataclysm many times in your life. You have been born, then you have been, well, taken off the breast, then you have been forced to walk, then you have been forced to be potty trained, then you have been forced into school, then you have been forced to select a career. So there are all these restrictions where, well, huge occurrences from the outside, and that is almost like time itself conspires against you to have these tough experiences. This is a type of, well, universal framework that you can look at your situation in. That is, you're actually doing very, very well in that you are learning these lessons, and that you are doing the very hard thing of seeing, well, the positive or aspects in the lesson, because this will serve you very well. It's a very difficult place to arrive at once you are struggling with these things, but you have actually managed to do so. So we experience this as quite helpful to you. And then we want to address, well, your problem on a different level, because what you want to do is you want to become somewhat of a health nut. We are not encouraging you to begin doing steroids or juicing. We may believe that it's called in these days, but we are encouraging you to distract yourself by physical activity, because this is sort of the balance where you can give yourself this type of warmth and comfort. Well, this oxytocin overload, that is essentially, well, the chemical component of your abandonment issue. So there are a lot of interpersonal problems that you will actually circumvent by going into this and then dedicating yourself otherwise to, well, your other pressing concerns, which at this moment we are aware also has to deal with well, let's say your professional career, your studies. So direct your attention toward those. Accept the difficult circumstances in your living situation, and know that yes, you have healed so much of this wound, and there are different wounds to heal and different painful lessons to have, but they will not be energetically match up with this one because you have healed so much of it already.
Thank you. That resonated very deeply. I do find myself in an interesting place now. Like when I'm actually in a friendship or a relationship, well, actually just friendships for now, I'm like I don't want it to end and my resistance is very high. But once it's over, I do feel like it ending has served me. And so I sort of look forward to the growth I'm gonna have through the pain that I experience in the future. That this shift in perspective has been really interesting. I guess my follow-up question that I had was just on how to forgive this person, because I find myself just getting angry at certain times when I think about what happened, even though I want to forgive them. I guess one way is just to shift my focus, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes, that is one helpful way. And the other way is to not force forgiveness. That is, forgiveness is a type of, it's sort of the choice to release things, but it actually speaks to, well, therefore it's also known that forgiving is divine because it speaks to a kind of place where your intent clicks with your divine will. And so when you click with this, you easily release it. But when you force the forgiveness, you are in some way building or adding energy to the anger. So when the anger comes up, just acknowledge that, well, it's natural because this individual put you in a difficult and exposed situation and caused you some grief and disappointment and all these things. And therefore your anger is a natural response. So as long as you're not reacting on your anger, and we don't sense this is the case, so then it's know that this will have its own momentum. And at some point, you won't bother with it anymore. And then there will actually be, which is often the case, the sort of gap between being hurt or resentful or angry at someone and then forgiving them is actually pity. So it's the fact that when people have mistreated you, there also arrives a point where you sort of have the epiphany that, well, poor them for not being able to act better in that situation. And just know that you will be carried there by this process. But what you are doing is already, well, sitting with it and looking for the positives in it. So this means that it's not getting stuck. Rather, it is moving you into these transformative realizations. And that's very helpful. So no, forgiveness will arrive, and accept that anger is actually a healthy response to a feeling of betrayal.
Thank you. That feels good to hear. It's it is a bit of a hard thing to admit, but I just find myself just visualizing like hurting them. Like I wouldn't do that in real life ever, but it's just, yeah, I have certain impulses that I just find it hard to open up and find acceptance for. But thank you for that.
You are very welcome, dear friend. And we can say this to all of you, that we do not necessarily encourage any internal censorship because, well, often these emotions, the quickest way to release them or transform them from something less painful. Let's say from a purely egotistical point of view, well, it doesn't really serve any of you to feel very angry. It's not a pleasant experience to be caught up in. But at the same time, as long as you are not acting on negative emotion, they do simply run their course, and then you're not adding energy to them. So you can sort of approach this type of, well, anger almost, if you make it a little cartoon-like or grotesque, you get you sort of get the advantage of also seeing how ridiculous it is to be this angry at another person. So that's also a way to play around with it, and we transmit our love to you, and know that this too shall pass, and that you are progressing in a healthy manner.
Thank you. I'm sorry for taking so much of your time. Thank you.
Oh, well, no, we have all the time in the world, but we do understand the human constraints of being in time. And so, dear Sailesh, do you have any other information for us this day?
Yes, there's quite a few. In fact, a lot piling up on YouTube as well. So,
Wonderful.
okay, Suzanne, go ahead next, please.
Hi, Umblam.
Hello, dear Suzanne. Thank you for being with us. Our
Thank
love
you.
to you.
Thank you. It was a great beginning message. Hit me right on the head there, the intro message. I was very interested when Laura was talking about patterns that exist on the earth that have been created by humans who've actually left or died, and where they actually leave a part of themselves playing out these roles. And I guess I can see those patterns. If I want to spend a lot of time, I can see a lot of them. I don't know if I can even give you examples, but I have quite a few examples of where I've seen something around someone, or I know that there's a pattern being worked out right where I'm at, whether it's from the Civil War, whether it's a very unhealthy relationship between a father and a son, or anything. I don't. Anyway, so this reminded me, Laura's story reminded me of the fact that I had this skill, I guess you could call it a skill. And I kind of stopped using it in my 20s on purpose, because I thought, well, this is really interesting, but I'm not sure I want to go here and spend all my time doing this. So my question, I think, was answered, but I wanted to clarify. I've always felt that these patterns and these things that I see, sometimes see, definitely sense, hear sometimes, are not the individual as a ghost per se, like 100% focused, but it's almost as if it's a pattern they couldn't prevent or stop, with a strong emotional component to it that's left on Earth. And yeah.
Yes, you are welcome to add more, friend, but you are discerning correctly. We sense this is also very helpful information. So notice, for instance, how this was conceived of in medieval times was also the idea that, well, people weren't necessarily pathological. They were rather possessed. That is the idea that certain demons, for instance, could take possession of people. And so it's not a bad way of thinking about some of these patterns, because many of these are unresolved trauma that has gathered so much momentum as they move through different generations. And often many of them they aren't necessarily constructed or brought forward with intent. So if you, for instance, take great epidemics or the plague or famines or these things where, well, survivors experience their relatives and in many cases their children or their parents or dying. And of course, this creates this type of deep pattern of abandonment, also continuing the theme as we were. So a lot of this, for instance, abandonment, can be thought of again almost as a rider of an apocalypse or a plague. It's this type of almost universal force that manifests itself in individual perceptions. this is also why it's so helpful to then go to these ancestral connections and also sometimes to your past lives and clear it out this way, because it's actually often, well, stopping it at the root, or understanding how this momentum moves forward in you. It counters this pattern, this pain, with consciousness, and that's a healing agent. And often then what it does is it intensifies the pain and then it releases it. So also then speaking to your personal process, well, because what you are experiencing, or the talent you are describing, is essentially Akashic awareness. So it's moving from this type of temporal or material consciousness into this type of energetic consciousness, where you see these energies are manifesting in different ways, and that these patterns are in many ways unresolved or unconsciousness, and manifesting as pain and, well, unconscious action in different individuals.
Yes. Yes. Would it be beneficial for me to continue to pursue it? I'm not sure why I chose to stop bothering cashiers and people. Well, you know, I was in graduate school and I had there was another student originally from Iran, and he had I visually saw a large male hand, an arm on his head. And it turned out to be quite a dramatic, painful story this gentleman had. As soon as I said something to him, he immediately validated it. And so I guess what I'm wondering is would that be something I should consider doing I don't know.
Yes, we are smiling here because we can affirm that essentially you are bringing this forward and activating it in your consciousness, in your memory, and here with us, in order to grant yourself the permission slip to explore this further. And you have this gift, and it is an innate gift, and you stepped away from it because it's actually very powerful. So it truly is something you can explore, and we give you the encouragement to do so, and we give you the encouragement to play around with it before you force it to be, well, something that you offer as a service. That is, there might be a period, and this might not have to be more than a few weeks, but where you just allow yourself to let it in. And so then notice that what you have is actually a valuable skill. And the very interesting thing about, well, these types of things is there's a situation and a time for everything. So if you offer this to people, then it might be very, very valuable for people to seek you out. But of course, in situations where people would not like to be confronted with this, it's seen as highly unwelcome to have, well, let's say, heady spiritual stuff confronting you from someone. So you kind of evaluate and use your skill to do this where it is welcome and where it isn't.
Thank you. I'll consider that. Thank you.
Thank you too. Love to you.
As well to you.
Okay, Umlam. Okay, we'll go to YouTube. We've got quite a few questions building up. First one is from Yana D. Question: a few hours ago, a bird landed on my open window just as I was asking for guidance. He looked peacefully at me when he noticed me and then flew away. What is the guidance in this? Thank you.
Well, it is that you have spirits checking in with you, or this type of spirit animal. So, well, what he was signaling to you, and we can say the instruction is in this, is also that you may have been feeling a little stuck physically. Well, so many of you have in this period of your time where you have been confined to your homes in one way or another. But you may find that there will be a peace for you in trying to entertain visions of travel that is taking flight. And well, you can just play around with it and have the idea of maybe going on a holiday or something. And then, well, try to make it reality if that is something that you might enjoy. So this was the message he was bringing to you. And do enjoy going on a trip, because we do sense there are adventures waiting for you out there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next one is from Davante 444. Says, I have been having a lot of sensations within my body and seeing small orb-shaped lights all around me. Are those lights my guides, elementals, or am I just seeing things? Peace and blessings.
Well, you're just going crazy, so better check yourself into the mental hospital right away. We are kidding you, dear friend, because we know we have been, along with so many other of your guides, very strongly influencing your experience. And so, well, you are seeing things in the sense that you are always seeing things. So the entire cosmos is kind of, well, or your entire experience, your personal microcosmos, that is always constructed by, well, you imposing interpretations and form upon a type of energetic soup. So, well, but why is your energetic soup appearing like this to you? Well, it is because your experience is becoming spiritualized. So these small lights, notice that they often occur in connection to the elves or in stories of ghosts and graveyards, or the idea of will-o'-the-wisp. It's because it's in many ways these ancestral lights. So what's happening is these, if you think of, we believe in some Buddhist terminology, it's called kalapas. These, the smallest, most beautiful, we were just adding they're very beautiful, but these, the smallest thinkable particles that create and compose all being. And these are sort of moving in and out, shifting in and out of existence. And so what happens with these orbs is it's kind of like small gaps into eternity, small places where the frequency is changing and where light is beaming into your experience. And this has to do with the type of grid work being protected to, well, a protective grid work being constructed around you by the help of your guides and your ancestors, these kind spirits that appear as lights. And so you have been receiving many downloads and you will be receiving many more. So hang on tight, because you have really stepped up to also have quite a rapid reconstruction within your life, because there's much work you have been called to and volunteered to do in your explorations. So we bring you our blessings, our love and protection, and we encourage you to also visit our healing chambers should you want to. There are certain guided processes available on this, our friend here's channel, but you can also just travel there yourself by tuning into our energy. So we are looking forward to seeing you, dear friend. Our love to you.
Thank you. Okay, the next is from Angel Wings. And it says, I feel there is a reason I'm at my current job to raise the vibrations for everyone there. However, am I still needed there, or should I move on from this experience? I feel there may be some there still who need me.
Yes. See, this is in many ways a very beautiful question, because it speaks to so many of the ideas about who you are as human beings and what's forced upon you. So the idea here, and this is, we repeat a message, is that in your questions are often, the answers are often found. And so you have infinite attention, you have infinite creative capabilities. A lot of that is simply focused in your material existence right here, and we could say in your basic physical reconfiguration. So if we were to use the image of your technology, such as computers, we could say that approximately 95% of your processing capability is taken up by you generating your immediate experience. And then the last 5 are something you select. And when you select with those 5 to bring forward into your attention, and by bringing it here, the feeling that you may want to progress from your present job or experience, this is a sure sign that, well, that is what you want to feed into the remaining 95, the stable part of your experience. So you want to manifest a new job. And well, we do commend you for being there and feeling that you will raise that vibration. But notice that everyone also has free will. So you are not necessarily needed. That's not that you are not appreciated, it's treasured, and that you are fulfilling an important role. But these people also have certain vibratory patterns. And if they are in a place where they are able to, let's say, begin to heighten their vibration, there will already be openings where they will manifest connection to either you or to someone else outside of their job. And so do not feel that you are abandoning any type of responsibility, because the people who need to vibrate upwards and onwards, they will, and the ones who choose not to, they will also do that, and both are essentially fine. But if you are feeling called to have a new adventure in career or in your life, then begin envisioning and playing around with what could be a positive change for you. And then know you will be just as needed, just as called in the place that you go to as the place where you find yourself. In both you are blessed, and we send our love to you.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next one is from, forgive me for pronouncing your name wrong, Nuabi Satop. And they say, what does it feel like in the 9th dimension? Sometimes it feels I'm looking at this reality from outside of this. Am I reaching the 5th dimension?
Yes, this is very much the where we are. So what you can sometimes known as witness consciousness, or it's also the Godhead or Purusha, or well, Shiva, this type of universal consciousness that's observing everything but unmoving, completely blank itself. This is the thing that you're connecting with, and this is in many ways something that we're very conscious of, that we are always residing in. So in that sense, there's an infinite quietude, a peace, a patience, a tranquility to where we are. And this you may find that when you identify and move more into this observer role, you also find that you begin to take your troubles less seriously. And this is indeed one of the fundamental or very nuts and bolts ways of why meditation is beneficial, even to human beings who don't necessarily retreat to a monastery or anything. It's simply that you get to observe your problems from outside, and then it's far easier to also shrug them off and not be too caught up in them. So yes, this is a sign of heightened awareness, and to match these together is a type of divine act that you are all working on performing. But then there's also, well, to our realm, dimensions of infinite joy, of exploration, that the way where you really feel is bereft the word, well, swept up in an experience such as aesthetic pleasure, or observing something that makes you happy, or, well, chuckling at a child that's cute, or watching puppies, or with these sort of very feel-good feelings that you have in your life. We could even say, well, the pure vibration of orgasm, all these types of very, very pleasurable phenomenon, we are also integrating all of them into our energy field. So our very high vibration is also a sign of, well, the pure ecstatic bliss we feel in being. And that's something that we are also very happy to share with you. And so when we say love, 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 it's in many ways this ecstasy of things simply being, this divine gratitude of something is that we are sharing with you. So love to you also, dear friend.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next one is from Lorenda P, and please bear with me. Yeah, it says, how do we best comfort those who lose close family members that do not understand the overall concept of oneness and are still very much in 3D? What it is really is, she says, my niece, Destiny, at age 25, killed in a car crash that burned up with her in it. And it's actually her sister who is really struggling with those thoughts. And an added thing she mentioned is it okay to communicate with past ones and past and loved ones?
Yes. Well, you ask some very deep questions here. That is, they speak to the fundamentals of human existence, which is very helpful for us to observe, because we essentially, in many ways, don't completely understand these emotions as they take place for you. That is the very interesting thing from our perspective about you being as you are, is that you get to have these intensities of things being present and things not being present, which is the fundamentals of the time space. And then you combine this with these deep emotional connections that, well, that really make or break your reality, so to speak. And this is difficult for you. We are aware from interacting with human beings that this is very difficult for you to part with. But, well, what you do around these grieving people who have no idea is that you, in many ways, allow the grief to run its course. So there may be places where it may become very self-destructive, but indeed grief is this type of, we could say, existential experience, in that it confronts you with your own death as well. And so the weird thing, which you shouldn't remind a person who isn't used to this way of thinking about, or a young girl who has lost a sister, but the weird thing is that she's been giving the gift of the preciousness of life by seeing, well, the preciousness of life illustrated in the extreme negative by having lost someone that was so dear to her. And that's not to say that every curse is a blessing, but it is to say that there is a wide expanse of life before her. And so what you do, rather than say things to them, is actually that you try to be present with them, and then you don't feed into their responses to it, so to speak. So you acknowledge their grief, but for instance, if the person has the necessity to point out that everything is pointless, or they should be the ones who died, or something like that, you just allow them to say that without offering a response to it. but without, of course, also being hostile around it. And that is what is helpful. Know that so much of wisdom, it radiates from humans. So it's not necessarily in the words you speak, but it is in the calming presence, and especially this type of strange certainty in the face of death, that you are not separated from your loved ones by anything but situation, but that your spirits are forever intertwined. And it is, well, perfectly all right to communicate with loved ones if you feel so inclined. But just know that, well, the communication you can have with them is, well, it is akin to, we could say, watching a movie reel of them, or simply a recording of them. So it's the fact that nothing new is really being added to their experience as humans, and therefore they're not growing with you. And therefore the risk can often be in consulting with the dead, for instance, that it keeps you caught in patterns. But the very beneficial thing can often be that sometimes it can also, well, help you accept what has transpired, and the fact and the reassurance that these people are actually on the other side, that life is eternal even though the body dies, and that is a deep truth that is unshakable in its perennial manifestations.
Thank you very much indeed. And one last question from YouTube. It's from Simon. And he says, greetings, Umla. Umla. Do you or the collective have any messages, blessings, or encouragement for me on my path? Profound love and blessings, Simon.
Yes, deep love and our blessings to you, dear one. So what you may want to get into at this point is, well, to buckle down and buckle up. It's this idea that you really want to get to work. So you feel that there is something that you need to perform in this lifetime for you to feel fulfilled. And you sense that the only sense of deep fulfillment that you can get to in this life is by undertaking this work. And at the same time, you may feel there are distractions, obligations, blocks, and simply a tendency to procrastinate that all challenge you in this. And therefore, well, our encouragement is, well, to allow yourself also again to go back into the rubble. So there was a time, there was an emotion you had as a boy where you really like to experiment, and this is the spirit that we offer you to encourage within yourself, to grow within yourself as you move forward, because there is an experiment going on in your life, and for you to really acknowledge that you're experimenting with, well, weird alien states of being, that you have the opportunity to condense it into something that has, well, both the capacity to be an adventure for you and also the promise to be something exciting for others. That this is where we encourage you to go, and we transmit our support in this as well. Love and blessings to you and to all of you.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, now I'm just going to go back into the room, and a second question that's been asked. By Kevin, says, could you speak about the IQ and intelligence of our younger son, Oscar? His consciousness really appears to be accelerating lately, although he's only 7 years old. Thank you. and much love.
Well, much love to you and to Oscar as well. So we would encourage you to, well, to the idea of IQs, the problem here being that, well, intelligence is essentially potency. What we mean by potency, we mean the capacity to do things that haven't necessarily been done before. And therefore, there is a type of, well, oxymoron or self-contradiction in the fact that you measure a quality that is exactly defined by its ability to constantly renew itself. So human ingenuity and intelligence is undying. So you may experience, we believe, for instance, it was the physicist named Richard Feynman who was, as we believe it's known, a low IQ individual that didn't score well on the IQ test, but at the same time was, well, a great name within physics, which required quite a lot of brain capacity for him to function, and also innovative capability. So that's simply to say that, well, we sense that there may be areas where this growth is not measurable, but you sense it intuitively that he's really expanding. And so the message is double here, because just allow yourself to be. So we will use the image of gardening again. And that is that if you're growing plants, you also, well, if you really want to grow some huge tomatoes or something, you want to also measure the pH value and keep a track on how the plant is doing, and then add micronutrients and all these things. And this is essentially what you're doing with him. So notice that he is his own vital biological process that's growing and unfolding and interacting with the world in ways that are, well, following, of course, templates, but also unique to him. And so just give him the inspiration when he's seeking it, or when you see that there's something new that he might be interested in, just give him a nudge in that direction and he'll explore it, because it's helpful for you to be surprised by what his, let's say, intelligence brings forward, rather than for you to expect it to have certain, we could say, measurable, or yes, outcomes, because he is essentially growing, but he's also found himself landed into a family where there will be room for him to grow into this strange, unique, beautiful, creative individual that is coming out of him. So blessings to young Oscar too.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Salish.
Okay, and that's losing communication. Okay, one more written question in, and then going to the room. It's from Tony again, and he says, could you please disclose to the group if the Cabal will be removed from power, effectively, essentially giving them the remainder of humanity the opportunity to collectively co-create, transcend duality, and exist in loving service to each other?
It looks like Mabs is needing to reconnect.
I think, yes, he's trying to, yes. Okay, sorry about this, everyone. It's the internet for you.
Need to unmute here. I'm sorry, guys. No live streams without internet difficulties, but it seems to be back and connecting now. So if you're ready, I'll bring back Umblam and the guys, and yes, sorry, and let me know if you can't hear me, and if it's not streaming or there's anything I need to be doing. But other than that, then enjoy and love to you out there.
Okay, yes, Mads, we can hear you clearly. Okay, the question was from Tony. Sorry, just gotta look for it again. Okay, okay, it's to do with, could you please disclose to the group if the cabal will be removed from power, essentially giving the remainder of humanity the opportunity to collectively co-create, transcend duality, and exist in loving service to each other?
Yes. Well, notice here that you are partially struggling with some restrictions of human language. So here you have the idea of, well, we could say subject and object. That is, someone is carrying out an action, and someone is receiving that action. So the idea of remove from power, we will not interfere in human events like that. But we will also say that your idea of a cabal is connected to 4D consciousness. That is, it's essentially what you know as synecdoche. Well, so if you are to speak of complex phenomenon, you use this type of speech figure that's called, it's the past pro toto. So it's you bringing forward something that's always representing a definite set of individuals. So ask yourself, is there a definite set of individuals that are highly competent, that hold far more information and power than you, that are able to, well, meet and coordinate exactly what is to be carried out in a human collective of 8 billion? Or other human beings who are, well, perhaps have access to more resources, more information, and, well, maybe even they may even be frightfully
I think we've lost him again. Okay, everyone, I'm afraid we've lost Mads again. Hopefully he'll sign back in. Okay, he's muted. Let me just ask.
I'm very sorry about this, guys.
Okay.
How much did you get of the cabal talk?
Okay, I got cut out as well, and I didn't quite hear much of it, to be honest with you.
Okay, so yes, they're also conspiring on the internet, but I will bring back the Arcturians and they will they will comment on it. So yes, what we were saying was that you can think of this idea more of a frequency wars. So certain human beings are existing on certain frequency bands, and those frequency bands inform them in the way that's also what informs their agency. So notice all the people that you consider opponents or who want to suppress you, they are under the illusion that they are doing you a favor by doing so, and that you are the enemy. And this is really what you want to move past. It's the idea that there is this fear opposition, because, well, the true conspiracy is these entities that surround the human collective and harvest fear energies for their own nefarious purposes, and that you really control by building your energy, strengthening your vibration, moving, for instance, to a place where you have moved, where you can reconstruct and rebuild and reshield yourself. but there will not be a huge intervention of we can say reconfigurations of which elite rules humanity. Rather, there will be the empowerment of individual human beings and human collectives in order for you to step into this. So notice there are no human beings who are more powerful than you in the spiritual sense. There are maybe a lot of human beings who hold more wealth or more political influence or what you may speak of, but you have the ability to reshape reality. And this you always do by the principle of the stones at hand. So you begin building where you are. And the first step is always to begin to shield your energy and to clear out a lot of these things. And then to take action from that place, knowing that, of course, at the same time, you are a work in progress. So have no fear and do not feel persecuted, because these two are in many ways ancestral patterns that do not serve you anymore.
Thank you. Okay. Right. Okay. I have a question, and it's regarding my relationship with my nephew, Rishin. Are you able to comment on anything, how this relationship is going to progress?
Well, there's a type of confidentiality between you that is only deepening through the years, but you will also, what you are in many ways experiencing is also a very slow and gradual, we could say, movement from where he leans or relies on you, and where you will also learn to lean and rely on him. So, and this is, of course, we could say natural between an elder and a younger in a family constellation. But for you, it has to do with, well, also a type of surrender into trust. And for him, it has to do with a type of, well, comfort, of support, of feeling understood and feeling met and recognized for who he is.
Okay, because this is just reason why I asked is I believe he was going to take birth as my son, but as things turned out, he came in through another option, being a nephew. I just want to know if I'm correct in saying that.
Yes, that's a very correct observation, that your energetic bond has far more of the character of father-son than uncle-nephew. So for instance, it's sometimes I joke around with the channel calling myself the funny Uncle Umblam, because uncle is more of this type of sort of removed position where you can come in and play around with people and then you leave again. But you have this type of deep commitment and type of adherence and exchange that's very much connected to these patterns. So this is also not, we could say there are different lifetimes where you have been the father and he the son. And there are even lifetimes, though fewer than the others, where it has been the other way around.
Okay, and I believe a few of disciple and guru and all those as well between him and I. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, from the room, I believe Steve, go ahead, mate.
Hi, my father would like to ask, when will the next micronova happen with the sun?
Oh, this is an interesting question. Well, notice that what you have also discovered about quantum realities is there is a certain type of randomization, and the sun also, well, consisting of nuclear or a fusion process, there are certain, we could say, there are certain random qualities to this process which prevents us from predicting it exactly. But we can say that we sense that in the year 2083, around July 7th, that's sort of the time that we are getting.
Thank you. I'd like to follow up with, are the recent solar activities, maybe you can explain the process of how that helps give us more light and ascension energies to Earth?
Yes, well, as it does not require esoteric insight to realize, well, the energy of the sun powers the vital processes of the Earth, and that's simply, of course, evident in the simply biological life existing at all on this planet. But so it would also naturally follow that an increase or an influx of this energy would also, we could say, increase the volatility of the biological processes. So without freaking you out, it is somewhat akin to say that the fantastic framework of that surrounds the X-Men universe, this idea that, well, certain energy is pouring in and actually changing human genomes. Well, this doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to move things with your mind or grow claws or whatever at the first coming occasion, but it does mean that your cells are moving more rapidly. And what this actually results in is a type of increased generation of the energy field. And here you are discovering that consciousness actually resides more in this energy field of this vibration of you. And this means that, well, you are moving into qualities of higher manifestations of the physical universe. This means increased synchronicity, it means increased development, it means increased novelty, it means increased longevity. It also means increased psychic capabilities and increased positive emotion. So these are some of the aspects of it. But, well, as you may also experience, well, for young plants, it can be very damaging to be exposed to too much of the sun at one time. And therefore, it's rapidly, but on this timeline, there is also a leniency to the pace in which you are receiving these developments, because otherwise they would almost threaten to, well, burn you simply by their intensity.
Thank you. And we give thanks for the blessings of the highest octaves of light coming into the photon belt, into our part of the solar system and energizing the core of the Earth. Thank you.
Our love and blessings to know that you were meant to be here to receive these activation codes at this time. So everything is on track, but the developments are exciting. Not even we can predict exactly how it turns out.
Okay. Ashton, go ahead.
Hey, so my grandpa passed away recently, and we weren't very close, but he also provided like a bit of a contrast, I think, in my life. And he wouldn't approve of the life I have now if he was alive. But I just want to know what he thinks about how I'm doing now. And also, if you could just comment on the generational trauma that I'm facing from that side of my family. Thank you.
Yes, it has to do with, we could say, negative enforcement. So speaking of these generational patterns, well, what's really hanging around from your grandpa's ghost, so to speak, and that's not that he's present as a ghost, but it's this element of guilt. So you do a lot of second guessing yourself, and you scold yourself a lot. So and that is something that we could say is brought forward by him. It's a long pattern of negative reinforcement. So the idea that when you're doing something right, then that's what is expected of you. And if you do anything that's less than ideal, then you may be confronted with these types of, well, feelings that you are being censored or abandoned or punished. And this is something that's hanging around. And he's quite, of course, at this moment, he's very content, because what you are doing is a type of reconfiguration of the family vibration. So you have moved into a place, and as a spirit, you have moved into a place. And this goes for a lot of you in your family relationships as well, where you have sort of become the, well, the block or the cornerstone in a new edifice. You have sort of been the ones who stop this karmic flow and begin to turn it around. And that's very painful in your individual experiences. But you are healing the planet, your ancestral lines, yourself, and, well, future generations to come. Even though if you don't have children for yourself, you are still sort of adding to the genetic upliftment of the people on the planet, we could say, in that, well, a lot of this pain is simply cleared out. So in that sense, we would like to transmit, well, his pride in you to you, because that was something that he was sort of denied from expressing. And yet every grandfather is essentially very proud that he has brought forward the progeny and his descendants and seen them move into a world that he no longer understands, and that you have managed to do.
Thank you so much. That feels really good to hear. And yeah, thank you, Omlam, for everything. Like, even answering my questions in the past live streams, they've really helped shift my perspective at very vital points. And I am very grateful both to you and to Mads.
We thank you for sharing that loving sentiment as well. And we are so grateful that we are instrumental in also helping you, and that goes for all of you, see so much more of the wonder and the potential that you are. Our blessings and love to you and to all of you, dear ones.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Umblam. Laura, go ahead.
Hello again, Umblam.
Hello, dear Laura.
It was brought to my attention that, and I can't remember the name of the being now, but the reptilian being that had been siphoning life force for itself. And so after finding out about that, I sat down and called it forward to myself. And, and it conveyed that from its perspective, it wasn't doing anything different than me eating animals and plants. And I told it, I see that that's, in a sense, that's very true. But I said, you're eating energy, so you can just take energy from source. And it seemed to feel like that wasn't its preference. So I said, well, that's okay, but you can't have mine right now. And then I was thinking about it and feeling like it's okay if I cut it off from me, but probably it would go to someone else. And so I put it in a bubble of light and sent it to the angels to let them and him figure it out. And so 2 questions, or I guess that's what I felt happened from your perspective. Do you see what does that look like from your perspective? Did it happen? Is that being sort of squared away? Oops, it looks like we're frozen again.
I think he's frozen, yes. we're coming close to an hour and 3/4, so maybe it might be time to call it a day. See what he says. Okay, I think it's time to get back in now.
Sorry, guys. My deepest apologies. Laura,
No
you were
worries.
speaking about your reptilian friend, and
Yeah.
and I got as far as you saying that was how you experienced it, and then it cut off. So I'll bring back the Arcturians, and then you go ahead and continue.
Thank you.
Yes, dear Laura, we are still with you.
Ah, thank you, Umlam. So one of the questions towards this is, from your perspective, is this being squared away working itself out with the angels now?
Yes, we sense that it's not troubling you anymore, and that in many ways this was a helpful process, because it will be something that you can use also on entities you may detect in others' energy fields, but also if you feel there are other unwanted presences coming present or alive in your experience, so to speak. So yes, it was very helpful. We sense you have cleared it out, and we also sense that you did it in a loving way. So in general, we can say it's very good to assign dark energies to the angels, because then you can think of, mean this kindly, the energy, the angels as kind of the garbage men of the spiritual world. So they serve and remove and tend to things and adjust and everything. So they're very good to call on when you have something that you need disposed and you don't know where to put it.
Appreciate that. And then when I found out, I was sort of irritated with myself that I didn't even know. And so I'm wondering when it attached. Because this thing of the low energy has been with me since early childhood, but I don't know if that's from this being or when did it attach?
Well, we sensed, and we don't mean to scare you here, but it already attached in vitro, we believe. So
Okay.
so before you were born, there was this type of we could say energy.
Is it from an earlier lifetime even?
Yes, but it also has to do with you sort of sinking your vibration into a place where you could be incarnated in this lifetime, and there it acting as a type of negative instrument for you to feel challenged enough to move into this healing and restoration. So in that way, it does serve, it has served you, but in another way, it also stems, yes, from some deeper negative patterns in your incarnational experience.
Thank you. That resonates. And so the other advice was to pay some attention to my personal energy grid. So
Yes.
I've just been calling for my higher self, my innate, which I mean the quantum field of my DNA, my higher self, my Pecto, my guardian angel, and just asking that as a sovereign being, I just say that I seal my energy in every level and aspect in every direction. And so be it, so it is. And as you look at my energy, is that being successful?
Yes, we sense that this process, because notice you also encase the little reptilian rascal in an energy bubble, and this is something that you're really growing quite skilled at. This idea of creating these types of sealed vacuums of energy, and well, this will partially be something that will be useful for you in your healing work, also with others. But it's something that you are doing quite well and performing quite well, and so we also sense a type of cheer or brightness. We would perhaps even use the term gaiety, though in the archaic and not the modern sense,
Yeah.
that's somehow growing in your experience. And this is connected also to this energy being sealed. So these more positive and we could say hopefully emotions can also expand and grow.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. My love and blessings.
Our love and blessings to you, dear Laura.
Okay, hello Umblam. How's Meds feeling? Because we're coming close to 10 minutes to the 2-hour mark, and I have two more questions in YouTube.
Oh, we sense he says that he is a little tired, but he's very happy to answer the 2 questions, and then around 2 hours, then he will be happy to finish off.
Okay, right. The first one's from Laurie Riley, and she says, I found a bumblebee outside on the driveway, brought it into the house, and feeding water and honey on a Q-tip. He's been here 5 days now, seems to communicate with buzzing. Is there something I need to do for him?
Yeah. Well, bless your beautiful heart in tending to that little honeybee. No, you just let him go by his experience. You may sense if he begins to take flight on his own, that it's time for you to let him go. But other than that, just listen to his little hums, because you may also want to take the instruction of this honeybee, and that is to find this tuner vibration that can soothe you. And so we also repeat, it is even known as the bumblebee, this exercise in which you close all the orifices of your skull, and so you shut down your mouth, your ears and your eyes, and only leave a small passage open in your nostrils. And then you say, like a hummingbee, and doing that, you find that this has a very purifying, very soothing vibration in you. So enjoy that this little spirit animal has found you. And we thank you for tending also to this lovely little insectoid life.
Beautiful. Okay, the last question, it's a one-line question, but I think it'll take you an hour to answer, is from iMark1. What will the energies look like and feel like going into the 2020? Thank you.
Yes. Is he speaking perhaps of the year 2022, or does he mean the entire decade of that you are progressing into?
I believe he's saying going into, so I presume just first few.
Yes. Well, what will the energies feel like? They will feel much as they are right now, but just slightly different. So we are playing around with you. And it is this perspective that you may sense that you are on a trajectory where if you register how the energies were 2 months ago, a couple of weeks ago even, something is radically changing, and there is an increased volatility in the air, but there's also a very, very fertile, very creative type of energy in the air. So what you may feel is, as we spoke to in the beginning, this type of collapse that's happening with a lot of the things that have hitherto kept you in place and surrounded you, and now you are in a place where you are really, that we will use the image of let's say being on a tropical stranded island, and you may feel that, well, I've been stripped bare of all the things I need and the usual creature comforts of life. But at the same time, I'm also in this tropical paradise, and I can reinvent myself anew and maybe learn to build a better hut, and maybe even I may even learn to build a house and will gather the right food and everything. So it's this type of explorative energy, but also in the face of really having to feel that there's a new start, for better or worse, on offer for you. So these are in many ways the energies, and we will also be giving transmissions as we move forward, giving you energy updates, and also for the coming year. So our love and support we offer to you in these changing, awakening times.
Just a quick one, just something Steve's typed in about the 22nd of February next year being a big alignment coming up. Are you able to just give a briefing on that?
Well, yes, there is a numerological harmony here that will corresponds with a shift, but what we can simply say is that the shifts are packed in so close as you are experiencing them, that it's hard for you to to really expect something so far out, because there will be a lot of changes in your collective before that. But it will in many ways be connected to, let's say, the energies of Pluto, or something that's also connected to the markets and how they are stabilized. So you may also feel that, well, let's say the appreciation of stocks and other objects of speculation will become far more volatile around this period. So those are some of the things we can offer you at this moment.
Thank you very much indeed. And do you have any closing comments before leaving?
Well, we will just say that you are still doing quite well, and we would perhaps, we hope it is okay that we point to our friend Assen, who has also shared today this type of shift of attention, where you may still feel that there are negative things pointing out, but playing out, but you can actually arrive at this increased elevation of consciousness, where you also sense that these things are sort of playing out at a backdrop of understanding. And it's really this understanding that's growing. So allow yourself not to be caught up in oppositional energies, but rather to see the play of oppositions as they move forward. So this is important, speaking of the energies moving into the new year, that you don't necessarily get caught up on one side or the other side of the conflict, but that you see that the conflict itself is a type of dynamism, and that is offering both an elevation and also a risk of absorption, we could say. So that's very much an overall energy reading. And then we will leave you with some of our own dialect of light language and give you a blessing this day. Lukalale ulelal elumamanan and kelly wali wa malaya langilari wale wala ketitak ilwalaki inamani yalan ufandi kalais tu alengang kita kenal uman kel itekin umbal apalangkal elembele as tenkelial wa malankeli yang geteng kial stuke upal engkal. That diamond you are encased in, this diamond, it's growing in solidity, and so it's appearing more and more in your life. For some it's synchronicity, for some it's increased joy, For some, it is small orbs of light that appear in your experience, but it is this superstructure of you, this clear geometric, bright, vibrant, luminous harmony that surrounds you, that is offering itself to be seen and to merge with you as you move into this space. You are still your body, but you are your body surrounded by this infinite structure of energetic harmony that sustains you, that builds you, and that expands you as you move forward with greater consciousness and connectivity. Therefore, our love to you, dear human friends. I, Umblam of the Arcturian Council, along with the Arcturian Council and all of our galactic brethren, I transmit our deep, unwavering, unconditional, undying love to you. I send you our blessings, our support, and I wish you peace on this day.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you very much indeed, Mads and Umblam.
Thank you to Sailesh for excellent moderation and to all of you. And yes, we're used to the technical disturbances. I don't know why they manifest right now. It's a very solid internet connection, but I'll leave with the apologies and be glad it worked out. And just thank you for your loving presence. I think next Sunday I won't be able to make it, so I'm planning one on the next 2 weeks, and I'm looking forward to that. But there will be videos and stuff and new projects in the making. So thank you to everyone, and have a lovely Sunday, well, evening, day, afternoon, depending on where you are.
Definitely, yes. But just as well, because I'm off to Cornwall next Sunday, so.
Oh, you're going on your Merlin adventure and off to the Stonehenge and Glastonbury and stuff. Excellent, Sailesh. Well, let us know if you meet any ghosts or anything out there. But have a really good one. It sounds exciting.
Yes. I need to re-listen to the last week's for one through Merlin, and there's quite a bit I need to catch up on there. Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
It's I'm sure he will. He said he will contact you. I remember from the last one.
Yeah,
so have fun
in the Merlin's cave. Yeah, which is something I didn't even know was there, but it's there. So should be good fun. And
exactly.
my wife is very much
yes.
in 3D, so it's always fun in games when I go to these sort of places. She's interested in shopping or either going to sleep, resting and just not going anywhere, dining, and I'm totally the other way around, totally opposite. But then it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
It's probably good that you balance each other out, so there'll be a hearty meal waiting for you as you come home from all the spirit work, right? It's gonna be good. Enjoy the southwest over there.
Yeah, I share. It's absolutely freezing cold, but I love it.
Yes, the north, it is very cold, and hope you're keeping warm out there, everyone, too.
And who you think of channeling in 2 weeks' time, or it's too early?
It's a very good question. I'm actually being I think maybe Metatron or maybe Kuan Yin, because I'm also beginning to connect to more of the Ascended Masters and stuff. So I think I will let it reveal itself, but someone benevolent. Oh, what's that, Laura?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. I was just excited to hear you connecting with Kuan Yin.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because she's been appearing in different. So thank you for saying that too, because I feel like she's showing up. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it too.
Yes. Okay. Come, Laura, you and I give it a push. Okay, she's in. She's
part of the Sophia Dragon tribe.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot here, Laura. But if you feel like moderating in 2 weeks, I will write you and ask. But I'd love for you to do it, and you
Sure.
can and you can decide of the entity. So if it's Kuan Yin, then
I think
Kuan Yin it
she's
will be.
decided.
Yes, perfect, perfect. Then,
Consensus.
but that sounds like a plan. Then, well, thank you for today, and much love to you and to all of you on YouTube too, and Salish and Laura and Steve.
And you, Mads, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
You
indeed.
too, guys.
See you next time. Have a good night.
Thanks for your moderating today, Salish.